Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
So sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
Protesters flocked once again to the People Power Monument for the Trillion Peso March, with well-known voices urging government accountability, anti-corruption measures, and the passage of the anti-political dynasty law.
Protesters also took to the streets of Manila calling for the resignation of President Bongbong Marcos and Vice President Sara Duterte.
Philippine authorities are working to repatriate the remains of a Filipina OFW who died in Hong Kong's Tai Po fire.
And the National University made history with a record-breaking 9th UAAP cheer dance competition crown.
First in the news, anti-corruption protests erupted in Manila on November 30, with tensions running high as some protesters clashed with supporters of President Bongbong Marcos. The details in this report.
Tensions flared between some protesters and supporters of President Bongbong Marcos at the height of the Bayan Group's demonstration on Recto Avenue in Manila on November 30. The man, identified as Roger Alcantara from Bacolod City, was wearing a red shirt bearing the image of the president. Several members of Bayan confronted him and told him to leave, but he refused. The exchange grew heated until the Marcos supporter eventually distanced himself from the group. As the protest continued, Bayan members smashed and beat a large effigy, a crocodile-tailed figure with the faces of the president and the Vice President Sara Duterte. Beyond calls to hold corrupt government officials accountable, Bayan also wants Marcos and VP Sara to step down. The protest on Recto did not last long after police blocked the area. In a separate incident nearby, Manila Police District officers intervened after a man with a covered face and a choco tried to blend in with protesters. He claimed the weapon was for self-defense. Protesters denied he was with them, and police escorted him out of the area. During that protest, Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla arrived and stood on top of a barricaded container van. Several protesters immediately shouted at him. But Remulla appeared unfazed and flashed a peace sign, further irritating some of the protesters.
Oh, nakita mo! Paano pa sinisan? Yabang ko, tila mo! Kapal na mukha eh!
The secretary said he did not take the cussing personally. He said he understands the sentiments of those protesting against corruption.
Wala naman dapat ikatakot eh. Tsaka dapat pakita ko rin na there is a side of government that listens. Diba, nakinig lang, hindi ako sumagot sa kanila, minumuro nila ako, okay lang yun, karapatan nila yun. Diba? But I will never fight back.
According to the NCRPO, about 16,000 PNP personnel were deployed across Manila and Quezon City for crowd control and security. Police denied allegations of overkill, saying the deployment was part of their preparedness measures while respecting public order and the rights of protesters.
Now, thousands, including prominent figures from the political and social sectors, gathered at the People Power Monument along EDSA in Quezon City on Sunday for the 2nd Trillion Peso March rally. Here's the report.
The protesters who gathered at the People Power Monument stood their ground despite the rain. Several prominent personalities took the stage, including Akbayan Representatives Chel Jokno and Percy Sendanya, Liberal Party President Erin Tanyada, and Miss Universe 2018 Catriona Gray. Jokno underscored what he called the administration's outstanding debts, including the passage of the Open BICAM and the long-delayed anti-political dynasty law.
Utang sa tamang pamamahala, pero alam nyo mga kasama, palagay ko, hindi nila kayang bayaran yan eh. Kasi hindi naman sila marunong mag-good governance. Kaya tayo na sa 2028 ang magpapalit sa kanila. Tama ba? Marami pang utang itong administrasyon ito. May utang sila. Open BICAM, kaya nga nangyari ang mga insertion na yan. Dahil sinikreto nila ang BICAM nung last budget. Ang kailangan maramdaman nila yung kamay na bakal ng ating batas. At yan ang utang, isa pang utang ng ating pamahalaan. At pinakamalaki sigurong utang ito, yung utang nila sa anti-political dynasty bill. Papayag ba tayo na hindi may sasabatas yan?
Payong.
Oo, sisingilin! At sisingilin natin yung mga yan!
Catriona Gray, meanwhile, issued bold challenges aimed at the Ombudsman and other key institutions.
When corruption wins, yung mga nakaupo lang ang nananalo. Sila na ang nabubusog. Sila ang nakakauwi sa mga mansyon sa Amerika. Sila ang nakakabili ng designer bags. Habang ang taong ng bayan lumulubog sa baha, sa utang at sa kahirapan. To the Ombudsman, file the cases now! To the senators, suspend the senators implicated! And to the Congress, pass the anti-political dynasty bill! Because power should not be inherited. It should be earned through service of the people.
Attendance at the People Power Monument was notably lower compared to the September 21 rally. But according to political strategist Ronald Llamas, the reduced turnout was expected as yesterday's demonstrations were held nationwide.
Tuloy yung anti-corruption probe, magpakulong ng mga guilty, ASAP, huwag matagal, at bawiin ang mga ninakaw. Pero gawin ito within the legal framework. Huwag pumunta sa installation ni Sara. Huwag pumunta sa isang military junta.
Various parishes and dioceses across the country organized their own gatherings. According to Father Raul Puti Enriquez of the Clergy for Good Governance, about 90 dioceses nationwide participated in yesterday's protest.
Ang iba hindi na pumunta rito, kaya ang ginawa namin talagang mas maganda, dumadagundong.
No placards calling for the resignations of PBBM or Sara were seen as organizers emphasized their opposition to any form of military junta. Their message remained clear: hold accountable those who must be held accountable and return the stolen funds. The Trillion Peso March also featured performances from OPM artists Ben and Maki.
Patuloy tayong mga lampag para ipasa ng Kongreso ang batas para tapusin ang mga political dynasty! At sama-sama nating iboto rin ang mga tamang leader sa 2020. Tama ba yun?
And to talk more about the second Trillion Peso March rally, we have Akbayan President Rafaela David. Rafaela, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning po, Sir Angel, Ma'am Angela, at syempre sa mga tagapanood natin ngayong umaga.
Okay,
natulog na ba from the March yesterday?
Parang wala pa.
Oo, tuloy-tuloy po. Ilang araw na rin po kaming walang tulog, pero ito po, medyo bumabawi na.
Alright, Rafaela, this was the second Trillion Peso March. So what would your overall assessment be about the turnout, of course, the atmosphere and the messaging?
Ramdam na ramdam po natin yung init ng pagtindig ng taong bayan, ng ating mga kapwa Pilipino na patuloy nangangalampag na magkaroon na ng pananagutan at gayon din siguraduhin makulong yung mga big fishes, hindi pwedeng mga dilis lang. At gayon nakita natin hindi lang ito sa EDSA pero nationwide po tayo. Over 100 areas, activities all over the country, sabay-sabay na tumindig at ipinakita na lahat po, anumang sulok ng Pilipinas ay nananawagan na siguraduhin hindi lang makulong yung mga kurakot, pero dapat pangmatagalan din po yung ating hinihinging reforma. Ipasa na agad-agad yung anti-dynasty bill para hindi pa ulit-ulit na inaabuso ang kaban ng bayan ng ilang mga pamilya.
But of course, for once, with the investigation that is happening right now, the cases that is filing at the moment by the Ombudsman, ano ba ang tugon, 'di ba, ng kayo mga grupo ninyo tungkol dito? Kayo ba ay nasisiyahan? Sino ba yung nakikita ninyo na dapat, no, na makita natin sa kulungan?
Siyempre, nakita po natin yung mga arrests that were already handed out a few days ago. At sa tingin po natin, this is a positive step. Gayon din, may ilang mga nagsoli ng pera voluntarily. At maganda nga kasi ito ay kasunod sa sinabi ni Cardinal Ambo na dapat ay meron namang pathway para sa mga kababayan natin. Pag-amin, pagsisi at pagbalik ng pera ng bayan. At lalo sila ay kinakatok ng kanilang konsensya. Ganun pa man, sa palagay po natin, barya pa lang po yung naibabalik at parang mga small fishes ang nahuli. Dilis at sapsap, karamihan ng arrest nitong nakaraang araw ay mga DPWH personnel. At alam natin, marami dyan baka sumusunod sa utos ng mas mataas sa kanila, lalo na yung mga more powerful political leaders natin. So yung mga recommendation na i-file na case against senators and congressmen mula sa ICI a couple of days ago, babantayan po natin para sana tuloy-tuloy yung mga talagang nasa mataas na pwesto at tuloy-tuloy din po na sana makulong sila. Ang panawagan nga po namin kahapon ay dapat bago magpasko, may big fishes na makulong. At yun sana yung magpapasaya sa ating Pasko this coming December.
Okay.
Yes.
Alright, we have to fix that. Okay, medyo nawawala si Miss Rafaela David.
Yeah, Rafaela, I think your Wi-Fi.
Hello?
Na-corruption.
Let's try to fix that.
Na-corruption din ng Wi-Fi.
Well, we all know naman yung natin linya dito. But of course, dito sa Pilipinas, yung internet connection natin. But of course, we hope to fix it para mas maging tuloy-tuloy yung ating usapan with Mrs.
Ayun, okay na ito si Ma'am Rafaela. Yes, go ahead. You were saying.
Okay po ba? Is it better?
Better, yes. Go ahead.
Yes. Oo nga, yun nga po, sa atin hindi pa sapat yung mga baryang binalik na pera at gayon din yung mga alam natin na DPWH officials na baka ay sumusunod lang din sa mas makapangyarihan sa kanila. Kaya before Christmas arrives, sana ang pamasko naman sa atin, yung mga big fishes, yung makulong, at ibig sabihin yung mga pinaka-powerful at pinaka-mataas sa pwesto, na sila naman yung talagang mas mataas ang pananagutan sa corruption scandal na ito.
But you're right, Rafaela, that we've seen only small fishes so far. Pero we know that all of this stem from yung mga flood control projects. But ang dami na naglalabasan recently, yung sa BIR, you have sa customs, agriculture. Education. Parang this is just a tip of the iceberg. And ano plano ngayon ng grupo nyo to hold all these accountable? Kasi you can remove the personalities, but the system and the culture is in place.
Precisely po, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Yung corruption, hindi lang yan sa DPWH. Alam natin, maski sa customs, BIR, actually po, na kapag taga-customs ka, di ba, makikita mo, ang dami na nilang patuloy yung pangangalampag natin. At gayon din, hindi lang pangangalampag, proactively ay magbantay tayo sa mga projects ng gobyerno natin. And the Catholic Church already agreed, lahat ng diocese nila ay i-activate para magbantay ng proyekto ng gobyerno. Gayon din, para po sa systemic reform, naniniwala po kami yung anti-dynasty bill ay talagang makakatulong para baguhin yung rules of the game. Ibig sabihin po kasi nito, pag wala ng bawal ng dynasty sa election, ibig sabihin po ay hindi na makakapag-monopolize ang ilang pamilya sa political power. At mas marami pong ibang mas magaling na hopefully mas according to yung kakayanan din po nila ang makapasok sa gobyerno. So, we're hoping to change the rules of the game. Hopefully, ang makakaupo sa pwesto, yung talagang deserve at talagang public service ang nasa puso, hindi private business.
Yun nga maganda sinabi mo, yung word deserve. But I'd like to ask, kasi time and again, history will prove it. Nangyari na sa PDAP. We put certain personalities in jail, pero paulit-ulit ang corruption. How far now do you hold this accountability of corruption in the nation kahit indirectly hindi nagnanakaw? Does it go as high as the president or the vice president because sila ang mga leaders ng land natin and yet under their watch, something like this happens. In other countries like South Korea, mismo ang mga prime minister nila ay sila unang mag-resign.
Nako, sa totoo lang, dapat talaga panagutin natin hanggang Malacanang. Kasi ang hirap naman na hindi papanagutin si Marcos. In the first place, nangyari itong paglobo rin ng corruption na ito sa ilalim ng kanyang administrasyon. Kaya napakahalaga na kalampagin natin ang Malacanang, siguraduhin na talagang yung tatapusin niya ito, pinangako niya yon, ay ipakita niya sa bayan na seryoso siya. At sa tingin natin, makikita natin seryoso siya kung yung mga malalaking isda ang mapapakulong, walang pamilya, at gayon din, i-certify niya as urgent yung pagpasa ng anti-dynasty bill. Kasi that will show na hindi lang ito for show at hindi lang ito basta-basta sinusubukan niya rin tumakas sa pananagutan. Gayon naman si VP Sara, alam natin, kailangan pa niyang i-explain yung Confi funds. Marami nga po sa akin nag-file or nag-endorse ng impeachment niya. At naniniwala, hindi niya deserve ang pagiging Vice President at ang ating mga kababayan na magsasuffer kung siya ang makakaakyat sa Malacanang muli at ang kanyang pamilya. Pero sa dulo, hindi po dapat tayo pumili sa Team Kadiliman at Team Kasamaan. Kaya ipasa na anti-political dynasty bill para hindi lang isa o dalawang pamilya yung matatanggal natin dyan, pero sana po lahat.
Well, your group has made it clearly even before pa na hindi kayo for revolutionary government, hindi kayo for transition council, and you guys don't call for the resignation of President Bongbong Marcos as well as Vice President Sara Duterte. Now, what kind of accountability are we talking about here aside from those that you have mentioned? Especially right now, ang mga tao ang nagsasabi, medyo parang tahimik yung mga kakampinks. I'm not saying you're from kakampink, no? Pero may mga, minsan kasama nyo sila, di ba? Doon sa rally, nakita natin yung ibang mga miyembro doon. Nagtatanong sila bakit parang tahimik kayo in terms of making these officials accountable, yung pagpaparesign sa kanila. Hindi ba dapat ay mas maingay kayo aside from doing this march?
Sila.
Oo, 'di ba? Parang yun yung mga, of course, mga tinatanong ngayon ng mga tao.
Actually po, Ma'am Angela, I'd like to disagree kasi yung mga leader natin na nasa hanay ng Democratic Opposition ang nangunguna sa pag-file ng very important and critical bills para una, maimbestigasyon talaga ito, maging totoo at may ngitin yung investigasyon. Kasama po dyan yung pag-file natin ng ICI bill at mga kasama po natin ang nanguna sa pag-file yan. Kasi po yung ICI ayaw natin na parang baka ano lang yan, pang-cover up. Kaya mahalaga yung ICI bill para magkangiting talaga at maging transparent din yung ICI investigations. Yung mga kasama rin po natin, yung nanguna sa pag-file ng anti-dynasty bill. Kasi gusto natin hindi lang changing of the guards, pero changing of the system kung saan ang electoral system natin hindi dapat pamilya ang naghahari. Gayon din po, ilan po tayo sa mga nanguna sa pagpapanagot, halimbawa kay VP Sara at sa iba pang mga sangkot sa korupsyon. At ito pong trillion peso march, very proud tayo to say, karamihan po ng nanguna dito ay ating mga kasama sa Democratic Opposition at gayon din sa civil society sector na naniniwalang kung gusto natin ng pagbabago, siguraduhin lang po natin na ito ay within our legal framework at ginagalang ang rule of law at hindi papahinain lalo ang ating demokrasya as enshrined under our Constitution. So napakahalaga po na wag nating hayaang ma-hijack ng mga undemocratic forces ang galit ng mamamayan. Kasi po pag dumiretso po tayo sa REVCO, ang mananalo po dyan ang pinakahanda. At ang pinakahanda po, yung grupo ni VP Sara, kasi siya na mismo nagsabi, handa siyang pumalit kay President Marcos. So kailangan pong maging mapanuri tayo. Kasi any cause that threaten our democracy, ang mananalo po yung pinaka-kanan at pinaka-undemocratic at sila po ay sila VP Sara. Kasi baka military junta ang punta at yun po ay magiging trahedya sa ating demokrasya at yun naman din po yung binanggit ni Cardinal Ambo sa kanyang speech kahapon. Hindi natin kailangang sunugin ng bahay para patayin ang mga ipis at iba pang mga peste na mamahay doon sa ating demokrasya. Hindi man ganun perfecto yung demokrasya natin, palakasin po natin ito by passing the anti-life.
Okay. Rafael, dugtong lang doon. The last time we spoke, right after yung September rally nyo, parang ang messaging niya was a countdown for accountability all the way to November 30. Ngayon, tapos na tong November 30, ano yung next nagagawin nyo na event or ano yung babantayin nyo that would trigger another massive rally?
Magbabantay po tayo hanggang Christmas kung may big fish na mahuhuli.
Okay, big
Pero
fish.
Yung isa pa pong pinagpaplanuhan natin ay next year, syempre po, we're celebrating the 40th anniversary of People Power.
That's right.
And para sa atin, this is the best instance of a peaceful protest that really brought about transformative change. And yun nga po yung nagdulot nitong ating konstitusyon ngayon kung saan ang binubuhay natin ay ang demokrasya ng Pilipinas. And we hope in the spirit of EDSA and People Power, siguraduhin natin na itong unfinished project na palakasin yung demokrasya natin ay tuloy-tuloy. So, most likely po, makikita-kita ulit tayo sa EDSA by next February.
Okay.
Yan, kumbaga parang third franchise ng rally nyo, kumbaga.
Feb 25 yan, no? Feb 25 ang sa inyo.
Yes. Pero, 22 to 25 po yan, tingnan natin yung exact
baka 3 days pa. Okay.
Well, I was wondering also, hindi po madali ang pagpaplano ng mga ganitong malawakang rally at in the end, nagiging peaceful naman, no? Awa ng Diyos, walang nasasaktan, etc. But of course, a lot of people are asking as well, paano nyo ba natutugunan itong mga rally nito? Meaning yung funding, no? Paano nagkakaroon ng funding ang mga ganitong klaseng rally? Sino ba yung backup ninyo? Kasi syempre may mga ibang sasabi na mga kalaban ng ganito, pinupondohan yan. Maganda na po manggaling po sa inyo.
Alam niyo po, grabe yung pag-aambagan at pagtataya ng mga iba't ibang organisasyon na bumubuo nitong trillion peso march. Kung tutuusin po, halos lahat kami ay abonado para lang masiguradong tuloy-tuloy itong ating protest action. Samantala, yung mga politiko natin, yumayaman. Kaya po, tapos tayo, naglalabas pa tayo ng sariling pera para lang masiguradong maging successful po ito. And we're so thankful po doon sa mga artists na voluntary sumama para mag-perform. Gayon din yung kasama po natin maski sa production team. Lahat po yun, puro volunteers. Tapos para sa mga logistical cost at iba pang mga pangangailangan, talaga pong grabe ang pag-aambagan ng lahat ng mga civil society organizations, pati po yung mga kasama natin sa simbahan. Yung Caritas Philippines po, isa sa mga talagang nanguna sa pag-organize nito. At grabe rin po yung kanilang naging leadership at pag-contribute, pag-aambag doon sa pag-ensure that this second trillion peso march ay magiging successful. At kita naman po natin, mukhang talaga pong yung energy ng mga tao ay naging masaya sila dun sa kinundak nating activity, pero sa dulo ay mas malakas ang kanilang boses ng hindi lang galit, pero boses din ng pag-asa na basta magkakasama tayo, kaya nating kalampagin ng gobyerno para kumilos.
Alright, with that, patuloy kami makikipag-ugnayan sa inyo regarding this. And of course, balitaan nyo kami kung meron ba talaga yung inyong concrete plans dun sa 3rd trillion peso march. Maraming salamat sa iyong oras, Akbayan President Rafaela David.
Maraming salamat din po.
Protests were held in several provinces on Sunday, including Baguio, Davao, Cebu, and Antique. Their message echoed that of rallies in Metro Manila, urging the government to prioritize transparency, accountability, and the welfare of communities. At least 100 groups in Baguio City and Benguet took part in an anti-corruption protest. Aside from corruption, participants also voiced opposition to local issues, including the supposed malification of the Baguio public market. More than 700 members of the city police office were deployed to ensure the protest was conducted peacefully. Authorities said the event remained orderly thanks to cooperation between organizers, the public, and various government agencies. In Cebu, thousands of faithful held a peaceful protest against government corruption, carrying rosaries and praying as they marched. Participants voiced anger over flood control failures that recently caused deaths and property damage in the city. Cebu Archbishop Alberto Uy also led a mass at Basilica Minore del Santo Niño, where he highlighted greed and the lack of God's presence in people's lives. In Davao City, progressive groups gathered at Freedom Park, Rojas Avenue to protest government corruption in flood control projects. Participants marched around the area, carrying placards and tarpaulins, calling for President Bongbong Marcos and Vice President Sara Duterte to be held accountable. The rally also featured songs and interpretive dances, while demonstrators called for the creation of a National Transition Council to purge alleged corruption in the government. More than 100 police and security officers and forces were deployed to ensure the event remained peaceful. Also protesting against government corruptions are Antiqueños. They gathered at EBJ Plaza in San Jose de Buenavista for the Bugtao Antique Peace Walk led by the Antique Amlig Alliance. Participants demanded transparency, accountability, and environmental protection, urging local and national leaders to prioritize the province's welfare and natural resources.
Well, seldom you see protests in Davao City that are against with
holding as
Duterte
any Duterte accountable.
Kasi usually hindi yan sila nagsasalita against
Although may Nograles faction naman dyan, but it's
small amount lang yun.
It's in a certain district. But in Davao City mismo, very rare yan.
Yeah, but this one really happened yesterday. Around 300 people were there. Protested in front of Ateneo de Davao. Well, we'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
The International Criminal Court Appeals Chamber has rejected former President Rodrigo Duterte's bid to overturn an earlier ruling that rejected his request for interim release. Presiding Judge Luz del Carmen Ibanez Carranza said Duterte's team failed to show any error in the pretrial chamber's finding that he remains a flight risk. Duterte, who waived his right to attend the hearing, will remain in ICC custody. Meanwhile, his lawyer Nicholas Kaufman said the defense plans to file a renewed request for interim release after Duterte undergoes a medical evaluation this December.
Now, the Armed Forces of the Philippines welcomed a manifesto from the Association of General and Flag Officers saying it reinforces the military's commitment to the Constitution. Issued on November 29, the manifesto rejected calls for destabilization and emphasized that the AFP must remain non-partisan. Support from both active and retired officers, the military said, highlights unity, professionalism, and respect for civilian authority across all ranks. The AFP added that the reaffirmation strengthened its role as stabilizing force and a steadfast guardian of democracy in the Philippines.
Now let's talk about that with Professor Aris Arugay from the UP Department of Political Science. Thanks for joining us, Prof. Good morning.
Nice to see you again.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Alright, itong last report natin, no, is it significant that yung mga retired generals and officers issuing this kind of manifesto? What does this do or impact in terms of stability?
Yes, statements like this, I think, are largely unnecessary at the current crisis that we have. For me, a wrong can never right another wrong. Corruption, there's a consensus that something needs to be addressed, but we don't throw the baby with the bathwater, meaning we don't undermine our current constitutional order. And this current administration was elected by a majority of the Filipino electorate. And Two, there are institutional mechanisms for holding our public leaders accountable. No? So we have institutions like the Ombudsman, we have impeachment, and in a few years, we have elections. And I think any call for and any push for extra-constitutional means of transferring power is a betrayal of the political consensus. Ang consensus kasi natin, ang kapangyarihan dapat lamang ilipat sa pamamagitan ng lehitimong paraan. At ang lehitimong paraan na yon ay halalan or election. So all these calls by, I would call them fringe groups from the right and the left. No? If you notice, it is the center that is missing, the moderates. And that is the space where many, if not the majority of the Filipinos locate themselves. And this center, I think, continues to hold. So, medyo malabo, no? And yung mga detalye din, dapat din siguro natin tanungin, no? Ano bang ibig sabihin nitong mga council na to? Sino mamimili? Palabunutan ba to? No? Sino yung mga magiging miyembro na to? And who empowered them to be members of this council? Will we elect them? I have so many questions, no? But it only goes to show that all these calls are, I think, hindi pinapag-isipan ng mabuti.
Pero yung previous na, dugtong lang ha, sorry. Kasi yung previous calls from a certain group before mga retired called for, of course, yung the removal of certain key officials. But these retired generals naman, they're reaffirming their commitment to Constitution. So, ano to? Ibang grupo ba to? Is this the fringe group? Or another group? Or who are these?
I guess your good is as your guess is as good as mine. I mean, I think we admire all our previous military personnel for rendering service to the country, but I do think this is the kind of involvement or service that is, as I mentioned, largely unnecessary. While of course all of us have freedom of expression, freedom of opinion on political matters. Wala naman nagbabawal eh. But let us just keep to the rule of law. And intact naman yun eh. So it is quite troubling that we have members of society, those that have defended our constitution before, and now they're saying that corruption is too systemic, too rampant, that this requires kasi revolutionary change na yan eh, and it's outside already within the bounds of our existing laws and regulations.
Well, for context, kasi yun nga pinag-uusapan natin na ang tagal na chismis na magkakaroon ng destabilization from the retired generals, but this group specifically reaffirmed na walang ganun. So don't you think it's necessary for them to do that, to at least, extinguish the fire that has been going on right now na tungkol sa destabilization?
Angela, kasi ang missing dito, if you notice, we've been here before. Remember the time of the Arroyo administration? Yes. Meron din mga military adventures into partisan politics. And I think there was significant political learning across Philippine society from that, na walang kahihinatnan to. So, I think ang importante dito, it's the active military personnel and officials.
Right.
No? In this regard, monolithic sila. Ibig sabihin, they have no appetite for supporting such kind. So, yung naririnig natin are actually those who are outside active service.
That's right.
No? So, that is something that the viewers of this program and our fellow Filipino citizens must take notice, that these are all coming from, whether itong nag-i-insist na wala naman, we're continue to defending the Constitution, well and good. Parang sa akin, needless to say that aren't we all supposed to defend the Constitution? So, kumbaga parang sa akin minsan mas okay na manahimik but those who are trying to say na the solution to this problem lies beyond our existing laws, yun na yung labag sa anumang political consensus ang merong lipunan na yung lipunan natin.
So kumbaga parang there shouldn't be part of the equation to begin with. Parang gano'n.
Yes, definitely. I mean, if they feel they can meddle into partisan politics, matagal na panahon na 'yon, no? And let's remember, ako nag-aaral ako ng the role of the military in politics in several countries. The Philippines hasn't had a successful coup before. No? Puro failed. And therefore, talagang ang importante is popular support. There is no popular support for any kind of extra constitutional change at the moment. And I do think Filipinos are way smarter than to fall into this trap. Kasi yung detalye lang nung mga ito, hindi mo kailangan na may PhD in political science.
These are just noise, kumbaga.
Right. And ito yung we have a free society, people can express, but also I do think that given that there is no buy-in, no, from both the active military personnel as well as moderate civil society groups, it's really telling that this is just a noisy, very, very small minority of Philippine society.
Actually, Prof, I've heard this in several discussions and circles, and I also engaged in debates with other people about this. Very interesting, you mentioned the walang appetite ang center. You have the left calling for this, you have the right calling for this, and the center is pretty neutral at this point. But the question is here, assuming, let's do the math, you have 15 million Marcos supporters, you have 15 million Duterte supporters, and we all know how much the Pinks or the Yellows or VP Lenny's group got during the election, which is significant. Mukhang she is the tiebreaker at this point. She is the middle ground that you are looking for. Now, how dangerous is a shift from these middle forces in terms of how the military will respond? Because we all know the military responds they respond to the calls of the middle class or society in general. EDSA revolution, the original, it was impartial because the middle class were fed up.
Jago, that was the military decades back. We're talking about a different military now. We're talking about a military that's more externally oriented. And I do think decades of professionalism has somehow made the military learn that they have no role in partisan politics. They follow the duly constituted civilian authority, no? And they already saw that politics is so messy, and they cannot be an arbiter of who is legitimate government and who is not. That is, kumbaga, yung term na that is way above their pay grade. Their role is to defend us from external threats, from other security threats, not to be referees, no, in warring and elites who cannot transcend their personal and parochial interests. So I think that's a different military, no? Yung sinasabi natin EDSA 1, EDSA 2, EDSA 3, no? Yung military natin ngayon nakafocus kasi all of this from if kasi I studied the military, no? If you will ask, no, para sa military, this is such unnecessary navel gazing kasi may mas malalaking laban yung bansa natin.
Exactly.
And that includes defending our borders, that includes countering Chinese influence operations, that includes defending our sovereignty, no? So pag kung ikaw yung military official, bakit ako makikialam sa politikang ito na napakaliit compared dun sa tremendous security challenges na hinaharap ng bansa ko? At yun yung training ko, dun ako tinrain, dun ko. So I think ang plea ko lang sa ating lahat, let's stick to our lane. Let's stick to what we are allowed to do and what we're supposed to do. And let's not trespass at makitawid dun sa trabaho na hindi naman natin trabaho.
Right. Well, we are talking about accountability here dahil nga dito sa mga trillion peso na mga nakurakot sa pera ng taong bayan. But I was wondering, Prof, if you could shed us some light doon sa ginagawa ngayon ng administrasyon dito. There are ongoing investigations, cases have been filed already. Do you think the administration is going to the right way that we really want na ma-achieve ng bansa ito, o may kulang pa? And of course, with all the noises that we have right now, left and right, the center, do you think there is a political figurehead right now that is benefiting from all of this?
Yes, I think, kasi, Angela, ang tagal na nito, no? Since July to, so na nung sumabog. And it is perfectly understandable that most of us are losing patience. And I do think the Marcos Jr. administration is finding itself that it has no other option but to deliver substantive and concrete results in the coming weeks. Because it will have nothing to show for kung puro performative yung ginagawa niya, no?
Exactly.
Yung nakikinabang, siguro depende dun sa sino yung, of course, may nagsasabi na nakikinabang dito yung pwedeng maging frontrunner sa 2020. Nakikinabang dito yung mga anti-Marcos forces, that includes the Duterte camp. But, pwede nilang gamiting naratibo yon. But sa akin kasi, kailangan din tanungin, no? Yung kampo naman na yon, sila ba walang bahid? No? So, and I do think, Filipinos are way smarter than our elites take them for. And therefore, yung sinasabi na any attempt na anti-Marcos will and therefore viable, no, yung vice president. Sa tingin ko may mga Pilipino din na nag-iisip, viable ba talaga? No? Viable siguro by name kasi constitutional succession, no, nakalagay sa constitution natin. But leadership is not just about what is stated in the Constitution. It has something to do with character and ability to lead. And therefore, I ask every Filipino, no, sino ba yung may capacity to lead? At sana maagap pa lang mag-isip na tayo, no? Who do we want to lead us, no? In the next itong susunod na halalan. Kasi napaka-importante po na hindi ulit tayo mabudol tulad nung nangyari noong 2022.
Alright, with that, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. That was Professor Ari Sarugay from the UP Department of Political Science. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
MediaQuest, in partnership with the Quezon City LGU, has launched the pilot rollout of Think Ka Muna Student Media and Information Literacy Journal at Project 6 Special Science Elementary School. Mobile journalist Kayla Macantan has the report.
To strengthen students' critical thinking, digital responsibility, and media awareness, this is the core advocacy of Think Ka Muna. Last Friday afternoon, Think Ka Muna Student Media and Information Literacy Journal was launched during the pilot rollout and teacher orientation held at Project 6 Special Science Elementary School in Quezon City, which is recognized by UNESCO as one of its pilot mill cities. Bert Apostol, head of the QC Public Affairs and Information Services Department, and Principal Daisy Cañizares delivered the opening welcome remarks, highlighting the importance of nurturing critical thinking and values-based decision-making among students.
Napakalaga nitong partnership with Think Ka Muna para mas ma-build yung understanding ng mga bata sa ano yung tama, ano yung mali, ano yung fake news, ano yung misinformation.
The event was attended by teachers and selected student representatives. They were guided through a briefing and demonstration of the Think Ka Muna Journal by MediaQuest Corporate Communications head Charles Lejano. Together with the Think Ka Muna team, teachers and students also shared their reflections, and the program concluded with the turnover of meal kits to learners, as well as the establishment of monthly feedback mechanisms to support continuous improvement. The rollout also aligns with National Children's Month.
Talaga ang commitment natin is to produce critical thinkers and responsible young citizens. Maganda po no na nagsimula talaga tayo dito pa lang, elementary pa lang, intermediate levels.
The Think Ka Muna team emphasized that every time our learners learn to think, pause, and decide, Quezon City becomes stronger as a UNESCO Media and Information Literacy City, reinforcing the city's commitment to building a mas mapanuring bansa by developing lifelong critical thinking in Filipino children. Kapatid Kayla Macantan, we are One News.
The Philippines officially received its AI Readiness Assessment Report from UNESCO, marking a key step toward becoming an AI-ready nation. Mobile journalist Ray Vicente has the report.
UNESCO just held the official handover of the Philippines AI Readiness Assessment Report. An artificial intelligence-ready country in the future, the Philippines AI Readiness Assessment Methodology Report aims to craft a comprehensive evaluation of the country's AI preparedness.
In May 2025, the National AI Implementation Strategy and Framework was approved by the President to promote a whole-of-nation approach in harnessing AI for innovation, good governance, and global competitiveness. And the key drivers of our AI strategy builds on 5 key elements: infrastructure, workforce development, research and development, innovation, data governance, and deployment.
Over 9.9 billion pesos will be possibly invested by the DOST for such AI projects.
The Department of Science and Technology is looking to invest over 9.9 billion pesos for AI-related projects spanning healthcare, agriculture, industry, workforce development, environment, disaster risk reduction, data centers, and emerging technology platforms.
The AI report's goal is also to make AI beneficial to every Filipino. And with its partnership with UNESCO and European Union, they aim to foster an innovative policy while still being human-centric.
Where AI becomes a core for unity rather than division. And this vision aligns with our work to ensure that no one is left behind as AI transforms and progresses in our society. Once again, UNESCO stands ready to assist in advancing the conversation on ethical and responsible AI.
It's a human-centric AI Act, as we call it. It can leave no one behind. We have to look into the protection of human rights. The EWA AI strategy is also applying a risk-based approach. Because once we regulate, we could kill innovation, we could kill any progress.
Meanwhile, 194 countries have adopted the UNESCO recommendation on the ethics of artificial intelligence. Kapatid Ray Vicente, we are One News.
Don't go away because we're not done yet. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. The Philippine Consulate General in Hong Kong has confirmed the death of a Filipina OFW in Taipo apartment fire. The Filipina, identified as Marian Pascual Esteban, was previously reported missing. Migrant Workers Secretary Hans Leo Kakdak and OWA Administrator Paya Kaunan visited her family in Cainta, Rizal to convey the news. They assured support for her child's education up to college. Authorities are also working to immediately repatriate her remains. The death toll from Hong Kong's worst fire in decades has climbed to 146 as of Sunday.
The Land Transportation Office, or LTO, has postponed to January 2026 the impounding of electric bicycles and e-tricycles on national roads. The enforcement of the ban will now begin on January 2 next year with no further extensions. LTO Chief Marcos Lacaninao said the decision comes after multiple public complaints. In the meantime, he said an information drive will be conducted to educate the public about the ban. LTO will also issue guidelines clarifying where light electric vehicles are allowed and prohibited.
Kasi ang issue, ang naging issue dito, madaming nakihuhuli daw ng mga e-bikes before na nagmamaneho in secondary roads, at least
national highway
and national highways, walang mga license. May iba meron naman, yung iba wala. Kasi wala naman actual governing rules about e-bikes with regards to if you need a license or hindi. Kasi may number of CCs per sa engine displacement, sa motorcycle, sa kotse, di ba, ang mga restrictions sa licenses. Pero dito, wala. Tapos number 2, paano yung insurance if may nangyari dito? Pag nabangga, may third-party liability ba ito?
I think yun nga, doon nag-stem kasi yung usapin na yan during the budget deliberations sa Senate, and they're saying through its secretary, Assistant Secretary ba si Mark Lacanilaw, na sinasabi niya nagkakaroon daw ng mga maraming aksidente dahil nga dito sa mga e-bikes na nasa national highways, nasa major thoroughfares. So, ang aim nila dito is to ang tawag doon, ma-regulate lang daw. Pero of course, on the side naman nung sa mga may-ari ng e-bike and of course other lawmakers, they're saying, according sa ating batas, ay hindi ito pwedeng ma-impound ng LTO because hindi sila sakop ng LTO.
Yes, so yun, oo.
Diba? The only time that LTO can impound a transportation, diba, vehicle will be dapat under sila ng LTO. So sinasabi yan of course ni Congressman Terry Redon na hindi yan sila, hindi pa pwede ma-impound ng ng LTO dahil nga hindi sila sakop.
Wala kang rehistro, wala kang...
Oo. So kailangan maayos na itong usapin na to kasi baka mamaya maging din to ng ang tawag doon, bridge to corruption. Diba? Kasi yung pag-i-impound, baka mamaya maglagay, etc.
Basta sa ngayon, bawal yung mga e-bike sa main thoroughfares and pati daw secondary roads. So at least malinaw na unless may appeal na may mangyari.
Alright, the World Association for Psychosocial Rehabilitation held its 26th Mini Olympics to break mental health stigma and showcase service users' talents. Para bigyan po ng mukha ang balita, mobile journalist Jazz Paredes.
The World Association for Psychosocial Rehabilitation inaugurated its 26th Mini Olympics with the goal of addressing and dismantling the stigma and misconceptions surrounding mental health. In the name of fun and recovery, a Mini Olympics was held at the LC Gachas Village, led by the World Association for Psychosocial Rehabilitation. The event was participated by service users from 8 mental health facility partners. This initiative started way back in 1999. With the goal of disproving the notion that people with mental health conditions cannot be active members of the community.
Naalis natin yung stigma dahil yung importanteng dapat makita nila na may malaking contribution itong mga taong ito, although may difficulties sila, pwede pa rin silang mabigyan ng pagkakataon maturuan, matrain, at siyempre mabigyan ng importansya yung kanilang skills o kakayanan para makapagbahagi din sa society. Hindi naman sila pabigat
Hindi kasi pinag-uusapan ang mental health. Parang lagi na lang yan merong stigma na kapag ikaw ay may dinaramdam sa pag-iisip, parang hindi ka nakasama sa society. So through this event, sabi nga ni Sally, nabibigyan natin sila ng pagkakataon na iparating sa lahat na pwede palang makarecover.
The Mini Olympics aligns with WAPR's mission to promote mental health awareness and advocate for the rights of individuals with mental health conditions. And the Mini Olympics is part of their ongoing capacity building and community-based mental health efforts.
Invite psych facilities to bring the patients, recovered service user, we call them service user, to this Mini Olympics, a day of fun. Ang sabi nga namin, ang battle cry namin is out of the shadows into the sunshine. Because there is this big chance for them to recover given the right intervention. And so WAPR Philippines promotes psychosocial rehabilitation. So that's what we do.
Over 300 participants joined this year's Mini Olympics, which featured 10 games including badminton, basketball, cricket, chess, poster making, and many others, all highlighting the talents and skills of service users with a touch of competition and sportsmanship. A short Zumba session served as a warm-up before the games began.
We really want NGOs to unite, and together we could build we could spread the message na ang hirap pag sila'y palaging nakakulong. Meron namang possibility with the right intervention that they can go back to reality and uplift their lives through this activity.
For those struggling with mental health, the Psychological Association of the Philippines has a reminder.
It's okay not to be okay. It's very important then to seek help. It's very important that if you have queries, inquiries, if you have questions in mind and you don't know the answer, there's a lot of mental health advocates and professionals who are here. Please reach out to us.
Kapatid Jazz Paredes, we are One News.
OPM band Ben & Ben marked the first anniversary of their album, The Traveler, Across Dimensions, with the release of an accompanying e-book and plushie collection. Mobile journalist Denise Valdesancho reports.
OPM band Ben and Ben's third studio album, The Traveler Across Dimensions, marked its first anniversary this November 29. To celebrate the milestone, fans known as the Liwanag community gathered at a cinema in Robinson's Galleria for an immersive storytelling experience based on the album that puts the spotlight not just on the music, but on the conversations it hopes to inspire.
We wanted to share a message, and basically, in one sentence, that message is to be present with love.
At the center of the program was the album's narrative, a story about Liwanag, an interdimensional traveler searching for inner peace in her journey within 3 dimensions: light, energy, and feel, which mirrors the human experience, moving from innocence to struggle and eventually toward maturity. The event also marked the release of an ebook companion and a plush series featuring key characters from the album's lore.
I think at the end of the day, yung being present with love, it's mindfulness. Like, if that's more familiar to you, which is basically being aware of what's going on inside you, your thoughts and emotions, recognizing na hindi ikaw yung thoughts and emotions mo. And so even if they can get dark, you can still bounce back from it.
The talkback also featured input from psychologist Erica De Pano, joined by band members Paolo Benjamin and Andrew De Pano. The Traveler Across Dimensions has been recognized for its musicality, but for many listeners, its impact lies beyond awards, in the way its story reflects mental health struggles and the hope of finding balance. As the album enters its 2nd year, the band continues to explore how music and storytelling can help foster mindfulness and remind audiences to be gentle with themselves as they navigate their own journey. Kapatid Denise Valdesancho. We are One News.
National University claimed its 9th UAAP cheer dance crown on Saturday at the Mall of Asia Arena. The team finished with 695 points to become the most decorated squad in the competition's history. The NU Pep Squad impressed the crowd of over 20,000 with a ninja-inspired routine featuring fast stunts and sharp choreography. Adamson and FEU rounded out the top 3, delivering strong performances that kept the competition intense. Congratulations! Di ba ganun yung mga...
Okay. Kaloka naman. Ay, tama na sana ako sa plushie. Kinurit ko pa sa plushie. Okay.
Congrats.
Thank you. And that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
And I'm Angelo Castro III. Kapatid, we are One News.
All sides, all the time.